There is an emerging pattern on YouTube happening right now where channels doing like 40 views per video are making over 6 figures in revenue, sometimes even profit. Now, almost everyone looks at these channels and think they're a failure, but maybe they're just reading the wrong scoreboard. And I get it. If you run a small business and you tried YouTube before, maybe you got like 80 views per video and things didn't work out for you. And this video is gonna be a little bit about the mistakes that you probably made, because this doesn't have anything to do with your content, or at least with the quality of your content. But the way you were measuring your channel's success is often more like a media company would than an actual business should. By the end, you should be able to run a small channel while still making a significant amount of revenue by understanding the mechanics that go behind a successful business on YouTube that doesn't depend on thousands and thousands of views to be successful. So how does 40 views per video turn into a 6-figure revenue business? It's not a fluke, and again, it's not based on AdSense. One view is not worth a fixed amount. The same 1,000 views can pay a completely different dividend depending on the channel. So think about this in terms of a ladder. In this first level, you're running your channel's revenue based on ads, and that could pay you around $5 per 1,000. On the second level, you're running your channel's revenue based on sponsorships, and that could lead you to around $30 per 1,000 views. Now at the next level, if you're running your channel's revenue based on your own offer, you could start at 100 to multiple thousands of dollars per 1,000 views. It's the same amount of views, and you could have a spread or a difference or a delta of over 200 times. And we've all been taught to grow the number of views in our channels. That's how we judge whether someone is winning or not on YouTube. And while you're thinking that this math works on paper, why doesn't every small channel with a great offer win? Because figuring out this ladder is the easiest part. Now you're probably already thinking, hey, these guys, they don't make money out of YouTube. They have businesses behind it. They're selling off platform. And you're right, the channel actually qualifies people and the business is what really monetizes them. But that's not really a secret. You already knew that. If you tried running a business on YouTube, you already had an offer and you probably even slid into the DMs and started making some sales. But maybe that didn't even move the needle for you. So an offer isn't really the difference. Something else separates these 4 channels from all the other small channels that are not making money, even the ones that have an amazing offer. So let me show you what that actually is. So let's take this guy, Taki. He's an Australian business coach. His channel was sitting dead for a few years at 2,000 subscribers until he decided to reboot the channel. And 12 months in, he claims he got over 165 clients, averaging around 30 grand each. On his own math, that's $96,000 per 1,000 views. Now, Taki calls his system the 3 bridges. One for cold viewers, the other for warm viewers, and the other for people who are ready to buy. And in each one of those bridges, you get a tiny yes from your audience. A cold viewer is that person who just found him, and they find him through getting access to a free tool. It needs to be a little piece of tech rather than something that they learn with. In his own words, it needs to be a tool, not a teach. And what they pay for that access, their tiny yes, is giving Taki their email address. Now in his second bridge, the warm viewer gets pointed to one specific video. And that video looks like a regular, normal video, but it's actually a full pitch in disguise. It's a walkthrough of his entire system packed with case studies from clients. And the only job of that video is to turn that warm viewer into someone who's ready to buy. Now, the tiny yes that the warm viewer gives you is their attention. And through their attention, they become a ready to buy viewer. And a ready viewer does something that a casual viewer wouldn't. Taki always uses a code word in his videos. He hides those code words inside those videos for people to gain access to something. And when you send those code words to Taki, an automation gets triggered. And the job of that automation is to check whether or not you're a fit for his program. If you are, you get a 2-page offer. And Taki says he ran this for over a year with no sales team. And the rule that glues this all together and that makes this machine run so successfully is that every weekly video he publishes points to that one selling video. He's never pitching his program in none of his other content pieces. He wants step 2 to sell step 3. Now, let's take the second example, Ollie. He's a UK coaching mentor. He's got a little over 2,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, and he gets around a couple of hundred views per video. Now, Ollie says that over the last 12 months, his business has made over $700,000 with 0 employees. Now, Ollie hates the word funnel, so he calls his system an ecosystem. It's kind of like the same steps, but with different names. Now, Ollie asks viewers to comment a specific keyword under each of his posts, typically on Instagram. When they do, a bot sends them a resource. But in order to get that resource, they need to give their email address, which enables Ollie to get into those people's inboxes and send 5 emails in a week packed with valuable free stuff, which creates the habit of people opening his emails. Now, once people are in and they're getting his emails, he can then start sending them to his cheap offer. So once a month, Ollie opens a small offer. It costs around $200 and it's designed to feel like a Porsche test drive. It's long enough for you to feel how amazing the product is, but short enough to leave you wanting the car. And throughout that engagement, he will then invite you to his most expensive tier program, which hovers around $2,000, and it's sold by invitation only, mostly to people who took the test drive offer or the cheaper offer. And as far as YouTube is concerned, the way it feeds into that system is in a deliberate 3-video chain. Video 1 solves a very painful and specific problem, and it points to video number 2, which solves a deeper, more specific problem, and points to video 3. And video 3 is openly a video pitch. It's designed to make a sale. Now, in the beginning of this video, I was alluding to that kid who was getting an average of 40 views per video and was making upwards of 6 figures in revenue or profit. And he's a coach coaching coaches. And it has a little bit of a different split where Instagram is designed to kind of warm people up, whereas YouTube is made to convert them. So he uses Instagram to have strangers become acquainted to him and watch the deeper content on YouTube. By the time they click over and come to YouTube, they already know they have a problem that needs to be solved, and that Conrad is the guy who can help them solve it. And that's where he gets calls booked with these people. And the way he approaches YouTube is very different than other people do. Most of his videos come up very unpolished and unedited, and that's actually on purpose. His logic is that those videos act like a filter. The people who are gonna watch those videos, even though they're not very well polished or edited, are the people who are genuinely going to benefit from what he has to say. Whereas if he's packaging his videos very aggressively in a way that's designed to keep people engaged and retained, he's accidentally bringing people in that are not supposed to take up on his offer. What he's actively measuring is watch time and how many people click to get a call booked. He's deliberately avoiding virality. He's using the unpolished way that his videos are made as a filter against his anti-ideal customer persona. And last but not least, we have Alexa. Alexa is a YouTube coach, and she used to be a graphic designer who never ever cleared over 50K a year. She took her expertise to YouTube, and her first launch made over 70,000 in just under 4 days. Now, her entire system runs under one rule that she calls the 5 1s. One platform, one audience, one problem, one offer, 1 year. Everything else goes onto a list called later. Doesn't mean never, it's later. So she's all about focus. She stopped catering to an audience of hobbyists. These were the people who were constantly watching her channel but would never pay for her services or offers. So she deliberately cut them. She shrank her own audience and start focusing on business owners instead. It's a smaller room with the right people. Here's the skeleton behind all of these 4 different businesses. And it's made of 4 basic elements. It starts with a free step that costs almost nothing, but proves that you can actually help. Then there's one business asset that's usually dressed or disguised as a content piece that does all of the selling. And every other video is directly or indirectly routing people towards that one asset. And that right there is why just having a link in your video description hasn't worked for you. And then there's the way in which the real offer gets sold, which typically happens in a more private setting. It's a DM automation, it's an email sequence, it's a school community, it's an invitation system, or an application form. And none of these channels that are actually measuring success by views. Quite often they're avoiding having too many views. They measure success by the number of clients per video, number of DMs started, email subscribers, or people joining their community. So views is not the unit of success that they're actively measuring. That ladder with the offers, the free thing, the cheap thing, and the expensive thing, that part isn't mine and it isn't theirs either. A guy called Russell Brunson named the value ladder more than 15 years ago. Here it is. Go read him. It's a really good book. What none of these 4 individuals actually talk about is how a deliberately small channel is enough to feed the whole thing. If there are 4 channels, 4 strangers, landing at the exact same principles, that isn't really a coincidence. It's physics, which raises the questions that you and I have been avoiding so far. Can we actually trust these numbers? Because I want to open a parenthesis here, and I know that a lot of you are already thinking, hey, these guys, they're all selling coaching, right? And they're probably selling the exact model that they're describing in those videos, which means that the numbers they're announcing is a part of the scheme, so to speak. And you're right. So I went after something different that could prove the point without being about people who are selling how to sell. We hear from the ones that the machine has worked for, but we don't hear from the ones that it didn't. Which is why I decided to go after someone who's not selling any of this stuff. Now, her name is Diana Anspach. She's been a financial planner since the 90s. And in 2011, she founded a firm in Scottsdale, Arizona called Sensible Money. And for over a decade, her firm has run a YouTube channel with her face in front of it. It's 88 videos, about 6,700 subscribers, and a typical upload does about 1,000 views. It's a channel that by every metric you've been taught isn't working. Now, Sensible Money, like any entity of its kind, files a document with the SEC. It's a federal filing, legally required, and public. It reports $742 million under management. It's 1,416 accounts. And that same filing document settles who's the actual controlling owner of the firm. And that person is Dana since 2011. The person on the channel and the person on the filings is the same person. I'm able to verify that her firm is so large and significant because that's a legal requirement for the kind of business she runs. And that's the scoreboard that Dana is reading. It's 6,700 subscribers, $750 million. Nobody's watching, and it doesn't matter. Now, if you want to know how many views you actually need to generate with your channel to have a successful business like this, I built a free tool called The Views You Actually Need. You put in the income that you want to live on, and it shows you how many views you should get per video to get there. The link's below. It's not a pitch. You don't even need to put your email address. Now, back to why being small is the whole point. Now, you may be thinking, all right, so I'm gonna build the bridge, I'm gonna build the channel that will make me rich, right? But here's the problem with that. You don't really need to grow. You saw how Alexa deliberately shrank her audience to get the actual viewers that will buy her stuff watching her content. You saw how Conrad makes poorly edited videos as a filter that will deliberately choose who are the people who should stick around and see the whole thing. So you can see that growth wasn't really the lever. The biggest advantage of YouTube is the fact that people actually spend more time with you. On an Instagram feed or on a TikTok feed, you're competing against all sorts of content, often completely unrelated to the kind of content you're putting out. On YouTube, the right person spending 15 minutes with you is worth more than thousands of minutes on any one of these other platforms where they're focused on entertaining themselves with random content about cats and dogs. So instead of getting impressions and views of people who never buy, one of the biggest virtues of YouTube is actually being that filter. Someone who's willing to spend all that time with you, they're more likely to be your ideal customer. So think about it. 40 people who decided to stay 15 minutes with you isn't really a small view count. You're basically giving a free keynote every week for free and wondering why the room feels empty. Like that other kid, Conrad, he says you should create up to 30 pieces of content before your message gets dialed in. This is a slow build that keeps paying. Now, full disclosure, since this video is about who profits from what, I haven't even built this machine for myself yet. You're actually watching me build it. This channel is a big experiment for me. The reps that I've put in are on the other end of YouTube. I've grown other people's channels. I grew Neil Patel's channel from 200,000 to over 1 million subscribers within 3 years. And today I still work with a handful of creators who already run significantly sized business. They paid me handsomely to do that, but it requires you to build a machinery around it, depending on the level of production you're putting in and how accustomed you are to creating content and being in front of a camera. So for a lot of people who I work with, that's what we do. We build an entire machinery around it, a production system. But today, for a lot of those creators that are running small channels, that's no longer necessary. I have been a CEO of a tech company before where we had over 60 employees, and it's not something that I want to do again. So I'm not here to play the small channel guru. I just pull these channels apart to show you how I think about YouTube. If it works at that scale, it can work at a larger scale as well. And it typically works really well. And the thing is, what I do for clients is not for everyone. These are people who are already winning somehow. They have a good offer, they have proven businesses that are already making money, and often they have created content for years in other platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. And if that's you and you want to work with me, just head over to carlosmagno.me and let's talk. So let's go to the actual scoreboard of YouTube, because there are two. One of them is the one that you've been taught, which is measuring your success by the number of views. Now imagine having a stadium filled with 100,000 people, and amongst them, only 2 are interested in buying whatever it is that you're selling. Sure, you've been able to attract all these people, but the value that you're gonna get out of that is ridicule. The second scoreboard is more about how much you're making per thousands of views. It's imagining that you may have a room with only 40 people, but those are highly qualified prospects who trust you, know how you work, and want to work with you. So just being small isn't really a stage that you're going to overcome or grow past. It's a filter that you can actually choose to run on purpose. That channel that you're not able to grow might not be really failing. It might just be pointing at the wrong scoreboard.